What's going on, guys? Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check up, daily news, what's going on in the United States, Washington, D.C., money, investing, and the next stimulus package, which has been announced at $3.5 trillion. But one single senator, Senator Joe Manchin, is threatening to cut the stimulus package in half or more than half, down to all the way down to $1.5 trillion. And most of the rest of the Democrats are basically pouncing on him, saying, no, it's supposed to be at $3.5 trillion. In fact, there's a lot of progressive Democrats that are saying it was originally supposed to be more than $3.5 trillion, and we negotiated it down to $3.5 trillion. Yeah. So I'm going to give you the details on the latest on that stimulus package. In fact, we're going to hear from Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal, who's the leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus in the House of Representatives, which is a group of about 100 Democrats in the House of Representatives. A huge, massive group. She's probably the most powerful Democrat in the House next to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And she has been one of the leading Democrats that has been pushing for stimulus checks in the past. Or even in the present. And we're going to hear from her in this video, as well as what is going on in our country. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. There's a controversial issue on whether or not the IRS will be able to have more authority to look into your bank account, and could be in this next stimulus package as part of more authorization to have the IRS be able to find tax cheats. And part of this legislation may be included in this next stimulus package, and basically would give more authorization to the IRS to be able to look into bank accounts to find out if you owe the IRS money.
How much money do you have in your bank account? Well, depending on your answer, under proposed tax reform by President Biden, every transaction you make would be reported to the IRS. This proposed plan is raising some major privacy concerns. 10 TV's Lindsay Mills combs through the testimony to verify what's included in the plan.
Recently, I have noticed some rumors floating around that the Biden administration is trying to pass legislation to force all financial institutions to report financial transactions of $600 or more to the IRS. Is there any truth to these rumors?
Our sources are testimony from the IRS Commissioner to the Senate Finance Committee, as well as President Joe Biden's spending plan for fiscal year 2022. Let's break down where this comes from. Back on April 28, 2021, the Biden administration announced the American Families Plan. In it, tax reform. Fast forward now to June 8, 2021. The IRS Commissioner testifies before the Senate Finance Committee on the IRS budget, which includes details of the tax reform proposal as part of the president's spending plan for fiscal year 2022. According to that testimony, the plan aims to, quote, improve tax administration and provide the IRS with a blueprint to address various facets of the tax gap. Here's where we found the answer to Richard's question. Under the proposed legislation, financial institutions would report data on financial accounts. This requirement would apply to all business and personal accounts from financial institutions with at least $600. The measure, if approved, would begin in 2023. So we can verify, yes, under President Biden's proposed legislation, the IRS would have more information on financial accounts with more than $600. Again, it is a proposal, and as it makes its way through Congress, a lot could change. There has been some pushback to this plan. On Monday, U.S. representatives from 9 states, not including Ohio, sent a letter strongly opposing this proposal to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the IRS Commissioner, and others. We reached out to the IRS, and a spokesperson responded, "We never comment on proposed or pending legislation."
So yeah, this is something that could make it into the next stimulus package. This is a part of the IRS raising more tax revenue to basically catch tax cheats, but is very controversial because, well, nobody wants the IRS looking into their bank accounts on an everyday basis. So yeah, very, very controversial. The average everyday person does not want the IRS looking into their bank account. I have reported on this before, and I will keep you up to date on this in future episodes. As I learn more, I will share more. President Biden is going to be meeting with world leaders this week on climate forum, as well as meeting with Democratic Representative Senators Kirsten Sinema and Senator Joe Manchin tomorrow. on the $3.5 trillion stimulus package to try to sway them over and win over their votes. This is supposed to be a very big meeting, as especially Senator Joe Manchin has not been very cooperative with the Democratic leaders and is even threatening to vote no if the price tag is anywhere near $3 trillion plus. In fact, Democratic leaders have been revolting against Senator Joe Manchin. As you can see here, Democrats confront Senator Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. Senator Joe Manchin has only grown bolder in his opposition to spending $3.5 trillion to transform social programs, prompting irritation in his caucus. Democrats are pouring cold water on Senator Joe Manchin, suggesting a work requirement for the Biden child tax credit. Senator Joe Manchin said a very controversial thing with, especially with Democrats. He said, quote, let's make sure we're getting it to the right people regarding the child tax credit, those monthly checks. He said, quote, there's no work requirements whatsoever. There's no education requirements regarding these monthly payments, these $250 to $300 child tax credits. Again, there's no work requirements whatsoever, and there's no education requirements. Kind of an odd statement there. No education requirements for the child tax credits. Don't you think if you want to help the children, the people should make some effort? Yeah. Democratic leader Pramila Jayapal, the leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, said, I don't think he gets what we're doing here. She says children still need to eat. Whether the parents are employed or not, children still need to eat. And thanks to the child tax credit, we've been able to cut childhood hunger and poverty. And I can't disagree with what she's saying here. And you could let me know your thoughts if you disagree with her, because I mean, they're sending $250 to $300 per month for basically all low and middle income children in the United States. All the children in poverty are getting these checks. So I mean, she's right. Children do still need to eat, whether the mother and father are employed or not. And if you think about it, if the mother and father are not employed, if they've lost their job, if they're in poverty, if they're disabled, if they have no money at all, those would be the people that would need the money the most. So if they're disabled, if they can't work, if they've lost their job, you would think that those would be the people that would need the money the most. So for Senator Joe Manchin to say, let's make sure we're getting it to the right people, there's no work requirements whatsoever, and there's no education requirements. Don't you think if you want to help the children, the people should make some efforts? Yeah, the Democrats are very they're really starting to push back on Senator Joe Manchin here. A lot of Democrats do not like this comment, Tim. Now, this comment, a lot of Republicans have made the comment that there should be work requirements tied to the child tax credits. And I can understand where they're coming from. Senator Marco Rubio and some of the Republicans have said that they don't want it to be a social wish list. And in the past, from years 2020 and previously, you would not get the child tax credits. You wouldn't get them previously if you didn't have earned income. That's correct. In the past, you wouldn't get the child tax credits if you didn't have earned income. The Democrats changed that with the third stimulus check package. Not only did they change that you didn't need earned income, they also increased it from $2,000 to $3,000 for children ages 6 through 17, and they increased it to $3,600 for children under the age of 6. So they increased it by 50 to 80% more. They made it so you didn't need earned income, and they sent it out with the monthly checks so you get it out in advance. I actually think that was very beneficial to people, so you don't get it as just a one lump sum, because history shows us that if you get a one lump sum, that a few months later, the money is kind of pretty much gone for the majority of people. And then by the time like December and January comes, the money is pretty much already spent, where if you get it in monthly increments, people tend to use it for food and clothing and things like that, as opposed to if you give people one lump sum, they tend to go out and splurge and spend it. And, 6 months later, the money's not there anymore. So they changed it dramatically. Not only did they increase it by 50 to 80%, and they've also sent it out in monthly payments, but the Democrats also want to expand these monthly payments and send them out and to continue them until 2025. But they need to pass this next package. They also want to include an adult tax credit in this next package, which would be for adults. The child tax credits are obviously for children, but they go to the person who claims the child on the most recent tax return. They don't send checks to 2-year-olds or 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds. They send them to the person who claims them, mom or dad, or even grandma, whoever claims the child on the most recent tax return. But they want to include an adult tax credit in this next package, along with multiple different stimulus items. We'll have to see what will be in this package. I'll keep you up to date on that. But here is Democratic leader Pramila Jayapal, leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, who's been one of the most influential leaders on stimulus programs and even has called for stimulus checks. Here she is. She's leader of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, which is about 100 Democrats in the House of Representatives, talking about this next stimulus package. By the way, I guess I should show this to you really quick, that Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal, along with Rashida Tlaib, have previously introduced a bill, as you can see here, have introduced a bill for reoccurring stimulus payments, for the 4 stimulus payments, that is still a possibility here, to immediately provide a $2,000 payment to every person in America, followed by, well, they would have income requirements on this, probably similar to the 3rd stimulus check payment, followed by $1,000 monthly recurring payments throughout the ongoing. It would immediately provide a $2,000 payment, followed by $1,000 monthly recurring payments that would go until 1 year after is declared over. And this ABC Act would be funded directly from the Treasury with no additional debt issued by minting 2 $1 trillion coins and additional coins as necessary. So again, this is directly from Pramila Jayapal and Rashida Tlaib, 2 leaders of the Democratic Progressive Caucus. So yeah, she's one that has called for recurring stimulus payments. So here she is.
In just a couple of hours, he is set to talk about the potential impact of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. His visit comes as congressional committees hammer out the details of the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill that includes much of his plan, as well as expand the social safety net in this country. Joining us now to talk about all this and more, Washington Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Congresswoman, it's great to have you back on the show. Thank you for your time. I know that several moderate Democrats, including your House colleague Stephanie Murphy of Florida and Senators Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema over on the Senate side, have expressed their concerns about the proposed $3.5 trillion price tag for the bill, specifically the potential impact on inflation and the national debt in this country, and that the bill is being put together, as they say, too quickly. I want to give you a chance to respond to that. What would you say to them?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Eamon. And what I would just say is that we are working to make sure we deliver the entirety of the president's agenda to his desk. That means we guarantee paid leave for families, childcare, universal childcare, where no family has to pay more than 7%, Medicare expansion, fighting climate change, housing investments. These were the priorities of the Congressional Progressive Caucus that are in the bill. And in terms of how to pay for it, look, there's plenty of money if we just tax the wealthiest individuals and the richest corporations, as the president has proposed. So there is no shortage of dollars if we make the tax system fair and we allow for those revenues to come in. And so there's plenty of money to cover this so that the overall cost of this is absolutely zero. But the benefit to people, working families and poor people across this country, is enormous. And that's why we've been clear that these 2 bills need to move together, and we need to send them to the president's desk to sign together.
Is it about a price tag or the specific items? Because given the small Democratic majority in the House and having no room for error in the Senate, I guess the question would be, would you and your progressive colleagues be willing to support a smaller package if it ensured that the votes are there to get it through both chambers?
Well, let's not forget that our original request was for 7 trillion. That's actually what we think we need if we were to do these investments over a decade. We cut it down to 3.5 trillion in an effort to recognize that we needed to get everybody on board. That was the package that the Senate, the House, and the White House agreed to when the Senate passed its $3.5 trillion resolution, with everybody on the Democratic side voting for it. So that is still the place that we are in. And it's not about a particular top line, only in the sense that this is what these investments cost. Now, we've already had to shorten the amount of time that certain investments are funded. We would rather do it for a 10-year period. We're doing it for a shorter period of time to get it into the 3.5. But when you look at this list of things we are going to deliver for people, it's what we ran on and it's what we promised, you will see that you simply can't get it done for anything less than the 3.5 trillion. And of course, that's a gross cost. That is not a net cost. At the end, it will be a net cost of zero because we will generate the revenue from people finally paying their fair share, the wealthiest and biggest corporations finally paying their fair share.
So I come back to this point. How do you then go about getting people like Senator Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema on board? Because they have specifically rejected the $3.5 trillion price tag. They're not even necessarily looking at the programs as much or the investments, as you say, but they're just rejecting the flat out total $3.5 trillion.
Well, look, there are people in the House Progressive Caucus who really don't like the infrastructure bill that Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and others put together. And given a choice, they would vote no on that. But if they want the bill that they negotiated to pass, then everybody is going to have to do some of what they don't want. Progressives may have to vote for that bill, even though it has negative things around it in terms of climate change. And Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin have to remember that they're part of the Democratic team, and the president's Democratic agenda and the Democratic agenda we ran on is contained within the Build Back Better reconciliation package. So at the end of the day, let's all come together and vote for both pieces, and we will deliver transformative relief to Americans across the country.
How do you rate how President Biden is leaning into this right now? Do you think he's putting enough pressure from the White House using his bullpen to get the $3.5 trillion passed among the Senate? What should he be doing more of if you believe not?
Well, I believe the White House has been very engaged. I know I personally have been very engaged with the White House, and they've weighed in, and everything is being pre-negotiated, pre-conference, pre-discussed, so that there is agreement between the Senate, the House, and the White House. So this is a little different than other processes we've done in the past, and it is making it complex to move it forward quickly, but we are going to move it forward, and hopefully we'll be done by the end of September. But we absolutely need to make sure that the reconciliation bill passes first, and that we deliver both pieces of legislation to the president's desk.
Yeah, so you heard her there that there are probably a lot of Democrats that will vote no on the physical infrastructure package, that $1.2 trillion package that has passed the Senate with Republican and Democratic support. Only 19 Republicans from the Senate voted yes on that, with all the Democrats. But if Senator Joe Manchin threatens to vote no, and they have to drastically start reducing the size of the stimulus package, then we will start to lose votes on the physical infrastructure package. And that's why these packages have kind of been tied together, because and the lower the stimulus package, if it has to go lower, then we'll start to lose votes from the Democratic side. That it's not just like, hey, let's make Senator Joe Manchin happy and lower the package, because there's a lot of Democrats that think the package needs to be higher than $3.5 trillion, the progressive Democrats. So AOC, probably Pramila Jayapal, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. So when we start to go lower, there's a lot of Democrats that start to get antsy saying, I don't want to go lower. So that's the art of the negotiation. I've always said that is the most important part, is getting everybody to agree. So they could probably go a little bit lower, but they're not going to be able to probably make a deal at $1.5 trillion just because Joe Manchin wants it to be $1.5 trillion. I highly, highly don't think they're going to be able to make a deal at $1.5 trillion, because there's so many Democrats that won't agree to that. So they might get Joe Manchin's vote at $1.5 trillion, but all these other progressive Democrats, they'd be dropping like flies at $1.5 trillion. They'd probably lose 50 votes at $1.5 trillion, and they'd gain one. So that's where they're going to have to really find that common ground. And President Biden is going to meet with Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema tomorrow to see what is going to be done here. So, and remember, the lower they go, the less stimulus items that can be added in there. Possible for a stimulus check, the extension of the child tax credits. Remember, remember the child tax credits go away at the end of this year. So they want to extend those. Those stop at the end of this year. They want to extend them to 2025. But at $1.5 trillion, the cost of the child tax credits is supposed to be over $1 trillion alone. So I mean, think about that. If they won't be able to do that if the package is $1.5 trillion. I mean, because there's all sorts of things in here. There's Medicare 2.0 for seniors, where they're going to include hearing benefits, dental benefits, vision benefits, denture benefits, hearing aid benefits. I mean, hearing aids alone are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and the vast majority of seniors can't afford that stuff. Senator Bernie Sanders says that 75% of seniors do not have those benefits. They also want to lower the Medicare eligibility age down to age 60, and that is supposed to make Medicare eligible for up to like 25 million seniors age 60, between age 60 and 65. So that alone is supposed to cost up to like $600 billion. They also want to make 2 years of free community college free, or 2 years of free community college for free. You know, there's all these different things in there. There's climate change. They want to literally save the world or start the process of it for free. I mean, a lot of people that talk about climate change think that if they don't do anything, that at some point it could be. So, and again, there's some money in there for that. It's not just the stimulus in there. There's a whole bunch of different things in this package. It's a big, massive package. So, and the problem is, if you take a $3.5 trillion package and you cut it down to half, you start to lose all sorts of different things in this package. And the problem is you'd have 50 senators from the Democratic side and 220 from the House, and you have to have them all agree. And the other problem is you have 200 and some Republicans, and not a single one of them is going to vote yes on this. So you're not going to get a single Republican to vote yes on this next stimulus package. And you also didn't get a single Republican that voted yes on that third stimulus check. So when you got your third stimulus check, remember, not a single Republican voted yes to give you that. And not a single Republican is going to vote yes on this next stimulus package. So, this is the whole art of the negotiation here is is the hardest part of this process. So I will keep you up to date with this. President Biden is going to be meeting with them tomorrow. I'll keep you up to date with that as well. There's a lot going on here, so don't miss any episodes at this point in the next video.